That a Jersey cough out in Jersey. Oh, great. The fucking clock's already going to start dicking around.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour, brought to you every week by AllAccessMMA.com. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, man, late show this week, Friday night action, but it's been a hell of a week so far. Action every night.
Yeah, no, it's super busy, pretty much from Tuesday on, and I apologize if I disappear in a few seconds. I'm just working out some kinks on the old laptop here, but yeah, great week starting off with our boy Natan Levy picking up a UFC contract on Dana White Contender Series. Explains why not that many people have been watching, because we usually do this on a Tuesday. We used to avoid Tuesdays for that reason, but ever since they went to ESPN Plus,
So there's Ed. He dropped out. He'll be right back. But again, we want to throw a quick congratulations to Natan Levy, guest we've had on the show since really his MMA debut in LFA. He moves to 6-0 with an awesome performance on Dana White's Contender Series this past Tuesday night, picking up a third round arm triangle choke finish. The Ed's back now. So yeah, I picked up a arm triangle choke finish in the third round after
you did, or Natan did?
Natan did. It's been a long time since I arm triangled anybody, but yeah, I mean, just amazing performance. I was just saying, we've basically kind of had him on here and been following his career basically since his first fight. That's how I got a hold.
What was he, like 2-0 or 3-0 when he first came on? I forget.
I covered his very first fight, and then shortly after that he came on, so he might have even been 1-0, getting ready for his second fight.
I should have tagged him in this scope, see if he wanted to chime in, but
yeah, I mean, just amazing performance. Guy gets better and better every fight. Taking this fight on short notice against in a weight class heavier than what he normally fights at. Actually, even more than that, it was above lightweight. It was a 160-pound catch weight for a guy who normally fights at 145. So, tremendous performance. Happy to see him get the contract. Happy to see the reaction he's received. I know he's getting hounded by all the big media outlets right now. So I'm sure he won't forget about the little guys. But
I hope not, because we know how they do sometimes.
I don't think he's going to do that. So, but congratulations to Natan. Well earned, and, stoked for him. Look forward to his first fight. And, he's kind of the first guy we started interviewing that's kind of worked his way all the way up to the ranks and done it and got there. We've had the opportunity to talk to some people who have just reached that pinnacle.
Yeah. It's funny. We're joking around about that, but I forget. It was someone's coach. I don't want to say Kavanaugh. Somebody tweeted not that long ago that they made a stink out of somebody for an outlet was saying, "Oh, this card," meaning last week's UFC card, was like, it's not that great to watch. Don't even bother. And so I forget who the coach was that said it. Maybe somebody watching will chime in and remind me, but maybe even but they were like, remember this when you see stuff like this, because they're the ones that are going to be hounding you when you kind of like, hit a stride or make it big or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's like, I mean, not for nothing, it happens the other way around too,
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw that. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Kavanaugh, now that you say that, but I'm not 100%. It was one of those things in Twitter. Again, the fight cards are there to be knocked. I mean, if we don't think it's stacked card, we don't need to sit here and just stroke off the UFC because there's UFC.
I'm not a fan of knocking cards, because I know all the guys on the cards do their all, so I don't knock them. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, sometimes fighters will only because it's happened to me. Sometimes fighters will that used to be readily available to talk, even just to talk about martial arts or whatever, suddenly become more distant. And it's like, let's talk to you back. I'm not mentioning any names, but I know you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, and I'm not, I'm not a big fan of knocking fighters specifically. But I mean, we don't need to act like a fight night card is UFC 100 either. I mean, I think somebody should be able to state that they might miss a card over a weekend because it's not exactly the most loaded with names. That doesn't mean these people aren't going to develop and turn into stars. This past UFC, the one that I think that was brought up, had the main event that I've been looking forward to for a while. Yeah. Obviously, this wasn't Gagey and Khabib, but Teixeira and Santos, for me, being a fan of the light heavyweight and heavyweight, the bigger fighters, and the old man strength of Glover, man. I mean, I it basically went. I've been on a nice little roll here. I pat myself on the back with some of these picks, but saying how his grappling is so heavy and how he controlled him, and I think I picked him to win by a submission. He's gotten better for a guy that started training with Chuck Liddell and kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think he really was ever talked about till he was about 16-0.
Yeah.
Then he finally made his appearance in the UFC. But for a guy that, I mean, how long ago has it been now since he fought John Jones? I mean, we're coming up,
and it seems like he's having trouble. He's been having trouble shaking that loss off. But every time he comes back, I mean, what is it, 4 or 5 in a row now that he's won?
Yeah, it's 5 in a row. 5 in a row
Yeah.
in a light heavyweight division. I mean, not the biggest names, but he's taken out some goddamn. The last 2 guys he's taken out, Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, are 2 of the last 4 title contenders at light heavyweight, and
so
Krylov was no joke either when he fought him.
Yeah, no. So that's the thing too, and it's like it's one of these things like people were like, oh, he's up there in age or whatever, but because of what you just said, and then the win that he got last weekend, and I know we're playing catch up because it's late in the week, and we trust me, we're gonna get more current as the podcast goes on, but the Dana White even said I can't really ignore that either. Like if he's calling for a title shot. And it looks like if this Adesanya, why am I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, Blachowicz, Adesanya. They're trying to do Jan Blachowicz and Adesanya, and it looks like Dana White might pull that back a little bit just because it seemed like he's starting to, not only is he listening to what fans and folks are saying, but he's sat there ringside to see it all too. So.
Yeah, I don't get the Israel Jan fight. That's not a fight that makes a lot of sense to me. I wouldn't want to necessarily, in case, to me, that's not the fight that I want Israel Adesanya to lose. You know what I mean? If his undefeated streak's going to come to an end, that seems like kind of a fight that's not a huge moneymaker, and it doesn't really create a star. I mean, I don't think Jan's going to become this mega star and run that division for a decade. I think right now, I think if the UFC is smart, you strike while it's hot. Very rarely do you get a number 1 contender. And I think Glover's become the clear number 1 contender. It's a fresh fight that we haven't seen yet, and it's the fight without John Jones, or you don't have that mega star who I mean, it's a hell of a fight on paper.
Yeah, not even the megastar thing, just that aura of John Jones. It's like, okay, if John Jones was still at the top of the division and the champ, as soon as you hear John Jones versus blank, it's kind of like, like you kind of know how everyone's kind of gotten used to how John Jones main events turn out, especially if they're rematches. So, now the division is fresh. I mean, universally, I actually talked in depth about it with the thing I do on Sundays for MMAnews.com, because, before that you had Corey Anderson and Melvin Meinhof, and that was the same division. The Anderson and Teixeira have some history. So does Blachowicz with the 6 degrees of separation or what have you between all those guys. So it just seems like that division is suddenly becoming, I don't want to say more interesting, but more alive than it used to be because of the absence of John Jones. And now it's kind of like everybody's got a chance to make some waves in their sport. And just for folks that watch a video version of this, we have the BKFC 14 prelims on both of us in our backgrounds. So if it looks like we're looking at other shit, it's not because we're not paying attention. We're trying to watch fights too. If you're watching fights.
I want to throw something out here real quick, just because I just noticed it. Fred Pierce is fighting on this card, which is not a big deal. Nobody knows who Fred Pierce is, except he also fought on the BKFC card last month. So this is honestly the quickest turnaround I've ever seen anybody do. He won
is
pretty.
He fighting right now? No,
he's fighting right now. Yeah, he just walked.
Alonzo guy.
And he actually fought on the 12th of October. So it's quite a heck of a turnaround for a BKFC fight now.
That's the one you saw. Did he win that?
Yeah, he won it, and he didn't take a lot of damage. But listen, we rarely see fighters fight twice in a month in ballet. I mean, this is not the sport I would expect to see somebody fighting twice in a month, but he
Not
won.
not
If he won,
not in bare knuckle. Yeah, you're right. It's a little weird, but I mean,
yeah, it's just
we had Joey Beltran on talking about how damage is not as bad as it looks just because of the bloody and stuff. So
yeah.
oh,
And like I said, he had a pretty good walk through his last fight, but I just was shocked to see him in the ring. I didn't look that deep down the card, but we'll get to that. So Saturday, Glover establishes himself as the number one contender. Monday was an off night for MMA. Tuesday we had the Natan Levy tremendous performance, getting the UFC contract. Wednesday that brought us to a
something's wrong with his knee. I'm sorry, something's
yeah, he
going on
just
with his
crumbled
knee.
down to the ground.
Yeah,
So maybe you shouldn't take two BKFC fights
yeah.
in a 25-day
It's
span.
over
But
already. It's over already.
yeah, he blew his
Are
knee
you
out.
are you fucking kidding me? They're doing
Oh,
a standing A count. No, dude, this is over. Wow, they're gonna let it go. Okay.
this is it's weird. Yeah, so Pierce has gone down to the wow. I don't even
Never.
know how the referee's going to allow this to go. He can't let it go.
I've never seen this referee before. It looks like he might be new.
Yeah, so the guy can't
This
even
is
stand, and now he's winging though. Oh, he's got caught. He can't
yeah,
throw punches.
yeah. That
They're
right
gonna
hand
call it a
was
slip. They got to stop the fight. So
yeah.
this referee, I don't know him, doing a terrible job. Finally waved the fight off, but yeah, we
Well,
clearly have
because
a
he stopped.
blown
Because
out
he
knee.
stopped. Yeah,
Yeah, you
he
guys got
just
a blown
waited.
knee and can't
He can't
stand
even
up.
stand. Ridiculous. Wow.
Yeah, so interesting, but well, there it goes. So I would not recommend doing two BKFC fights in a 30-day span or whatever it is. But so getting back to it, so Wednesday though brought us a special treat. Not only was it Veterans Day, celebration of all the veterans of this country, but it was the revival of the United States version of XFC 43. Returned and it was brought back on NBC Sports Network
Mm-hmm.
for a midweek Wednesday night show.
Yeah.
I know you were heavily involved in watching it. I
Yeah.
watched a very big chunk of it, but
I saw it from start to finish. I loved it. Even I mean, with the exception of the co-main and main events, didn't deliver as much as the rest of the card did. But I'll tell you what I like what they're doing there. I mean, it seems like they've taken the best of everything everyone else is doing, and they're mixing it all into the from what you'd call the prelims to the main event. So they have a format that they're calling Young Guns, which is kind of like their contender series. It's young and up and coming fighters, and Banshee, his name slips my mind. He was one of the Young Guns guys that fought, but 19 years old, first fight in MMA, dominant wrestling. Only 19, he's gonna get way better than what we saw. But the matchmaker and the promoter were kind of like they had to kind of push to get this format going because NBC Sports was so used to doing World Series of Fighting type of stuff that they were like, no, we need tested fighters, and they're like, no, you don't understand. These guys are going to be exciting, and they absolutely were. So you have the young guns for the fresh and up and coming fighters. They have tournaments. They feature their lightweight and welterweight tournaments so they can crown champions, which you and I have gone at length about how we love tournaments. And then they have obviously their season, the Aguilars and Sukumat and the fighters that people pretty well know as the main part of the card. So that's their format moving forward. And I think if that catches on, that's they're gonna bring some fresh eyeballs to NBC Sports. Weird, they did it on a Wednesday. It was a holiday. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
The way things are unfolding right now, I would love to see them fall into that Wednesday night niche. It looks like we're gonna have Bellator on Thursdays. If we can get a nice little rotation of Wednesday night XFC, Thursday night Bellator, Friday night BKFC, and then Saturday UFC. I mean, we're approaching a nice
fight week.
Yeah, I mean, it brings back the days where you had WEC on Sundays and stuff like that, and even Bellator used to be on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Pretty much been on every day of the week at this point. But yeah, I thought the show looked great. I liked the 6-sided cage. I like the hexagon. I especially like it from a fan's perspective, although obviously I wasn't there. It kind of reminded me. I believe Strike Force was also a 6-sided cage,
Mm.
and just the the openness of it, and it's for a fan watching it, it's cool. I thought the fighters were impressive. I mean, obviously, no Holaba from the UFC,
Yeah.
and I want to say RFA, or I mean, we've all hardcore fans have watched Holaba fight several times. He looked outstanding. This Kenneth Cross guy, I had never really heard of the guy. Maybe that's my bad. He had the look of like a 80s porn star basically in his photo. But
Oh
holy shit!
yeah,
But
yeah,
holy
yeah,
shit!
yeah.
That dude came out just throwing bombs, and
My goodness.
I
Yeah.
mean, just looked tremendous. I mean, I don't necessarily know a lot about their opponents per se, but they looked world class, and they had the talk and just everything came together. Like you said, you got their Grand Prix going, and it seems to me like the right guys won. Not that you
Yeah.
set anything up, but a cross holoball fight, certainly, whether it's in the next round or in the finals,
Mm.
I have to look at the bracket. Certainly looks like a nice MMA fight to
Yeah,
crown their heavyweight champion or
and
lightweight
that
champion.
yeah, and that's the whole thing about setting up these brackets, like the way I mean, Bellator's doing it. PFL's whole gimmick is doing brackets and seasons and stuff like that. So it's nice that someone else is doing it. Maybe if enough people do it, the UFC will do it more than just for one season of the Ultimate Fighter when they did it for the flyweight division. But it's funny because and I know we're going to get to it towards the end of this, but like one of the questions Paul Felder was asked about was if he something they asked him his opinion about the lightweight division or something. Somebody brought up tournament, and he actually even himself said, "Yeah, that'd be great because everybody gets a chance." And it's just something. I mean, and now I'm stealing this from Chael Sonnen, but I mean, what sports that people follow don't have some sort of tournament or bracket that everybody goes all in on?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, boxing has done it in the past too. I remember. I forget what it was like in the '90s. They did it on HBO, and it was like every other month or whatever. But it gives you something to follow and cheer on for.
Yeah,
So
I mean they had their Super Series. The boxing had their Super
that's
Series
yeah.
where it was a little more recent. Where I don't know if it was thrown off by all the COVID stuff, but it seems like they had stuff going on where it was kind of worldwide.
Yeah.
Getting points for wins and such. And Chelsea's right. I was going to say the same thing. I mean, every sport has a visual basically of what you can look at and go, okay, like this is how it unfolded. NFL gets to their playoffs and you can look at all their games that what got them to their seedings and all that. But I thought it was great. I thought the show looked great. I thought the play-by-play Pat Miletich and Kenny Rice. I mean,
Yeah.
brings back the nostalgia of the HDNet and Access Fight Nights and
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see him be able to get the voice Chevello back. That would be cool to kind of bring that mix back together. Those three guys really carried a lot of those HDNet and Access shows. But yeah, great show Wednesday. I again, I would love to see them fall in that niche. I don't know what PFL is going to do. I don't know what night they're going to come on. In a perfect world for me, that would be Sunday night. ESPN doesn't have a football game on Sunday night.
Yeah, no, they're doing Thursdays as well. They put out something a couple of weeks ago. They're looking at Thursdays. I think there's only one Friday in there, but I think they're going to focus on Thursdays. Thursdays was their original night, so I think they want to stick to that. But it's like, hey, Thursday. I mean, Thursday is going to be busy, man. I only have two screens. I'm going to have to watch something on my phone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
yeah. I just wonder if they
but
both survive. Can PFL and Bellator really survive going against each other for 2 hours every Thursday night? I mean, one of them falls, right? I mean, if we're being honest, I don't think that there's a market big enough to give both of them enough viewers. They both don't do great in ratings as it is.
Well, I mean, Bellator just moved, so
Well,
I think they needed time, and PFL just hasn't been doing anything. So
yeah, well, PFL right now is the one that's going to have to step on the gas because they're going to get lapped if they're not careful. Especially, it was good to see them allow Kayla Harrison to sign an Invicta contract for a
next
fight.
like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, I want to say like the 20th or something like that. So
we were supposed to get Aaron Blanchfield on here for that, but the whole thing we talked about that last week with Pro Gonzalez getting the COVID positive.
Yeah. So so Wednesday again, XFC tremendous show. Look forward to the next one. I believe it is in February. Is that
Yeah,
what we're hearing
February.
right now?
Yeah.
Oh, someone just got laid out in BKFC. Oh my God.
Oh, that doesn't look good at all.
No, that was Aaron Pico's punch with a bare knuckle. That guy just
Wow, right on
oh
the
my
jaw.
God. Is this a
Uh,
replay? I don't that might be a replay. I don't think this is live. The other mat was white. Yeah, that's one of the older fights. That's like
this is from
BKFC 7. Yeah, that's one of the highlights. I recognize it now, but yeah.
so they're
Yeah.
probably promoting this Mohawk dude.
I think they had the co-main event fall out. I'm waiting for I was looking for confirmation, but I think the co-main event between
Uh,
Reggie Warren Jr.
I
and Dat Win fell out.
I
Is what
think it did. Didn't Kowal tweet that out a couple days ago?
it may have. I may have missed it. I've been trying to catch up on that, but yeah, they're showing highlights. I thought we just had a
Yeah, that's still a bad one
attempted
to
murder.
watch.
um,
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. It's a Bellator.
yeah. So yeah, exactly. So that brings us into Bellator on Thursday night. So we had Saturday, we had Tuesday, we had Wednesday. Now we're on to Thursday night. Bellator, best show that they've had in a year. Well, best show they've had since maybe the Cyborg Bud event pre-COVID, the last real legitimate big event they had kind of before our shutdown. I thought that the top 7 fights. I mean, there was a handful of highlight reel knockouts, but I thought the top 5 fights. If you would have had Kerry Melendez and Aaron Pico on a 5-fight main card, one might argue that it was the entertainment card of the. If you just looked at the fights, it could easily be a card of the year candidate. The way stuff unfolded. Aaron Pico, I mean, we've talked. I mean, I feel like we've had this program going since he basically started his career, and we've
Yeah.
been there from from his garden show where it was where he got caught by Freeman and choked out in his debut to
Sorry, I just found it was on Monday. Co-main event has been lost. Dat Nguyen pulled out of his 135 interim title fight against Reggie Barnett Jr.
Reggie Barnett, not Reggie Williams. Yeah, so that's disappointing. But yeah, but the Bellator card. I mean, Aaron Pico again, just he's getting it. It's like we talked about it. You have to wrestle so guys are afraid of your wrestling, and he tried to do that. I can't remember the first fight basically. And he ended up losing. He was against Boritz, I think, and he where he wrestled him for round, and then got caught with a flying knee.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you kind of went, okay, that's still how he has to fight. He just needs to not get caught with a flying knee in the third round or whatever the heck had happened. This fight, I thought he fought almost a perfect fight. I mean, his wrestling, his transitions, his power his power's on par with basically anybody I've ever seen at 145.
The power is always there since he got there, but it's just him. It's everything takes time, and he admitted it. He just made the change to a different camp, and nothing against the team body shop, but he just felt the need to the change in the location and everything just worked better for him, and he seems to be clicking better with the current coach, whose name I knew it because I actually watched his post fight interview. Where he talked about it, and he just kind of said, the losses were good for him because it was letting him know that he needed to evolve and put everything together, and we saw that. And one of the things he did beautifully, obviously the knockout was that flooded the internet not long after it happened. But one of the things I thought he did beautifully as far as when he finally got to use his wrestling was he could have left people planted against the cage and pounded away, but it was more tiring to his opponent to drag him to the center and make him scramble, and it allowed him to get back up to the feet and deliver what we wound up seeing. The final outcome was it was just really, that's if that's the evolution. It's funny because he said he was getting a little emotional. You saw how he got afterward, but in the post fight interview, he said he was trying to be like GSP. And I'm like, you know what? GSP wasn't always perfect. GSP picked up a couple of losses, made mistakes, and learned from them and came back better. Mm-hmm. And we always get hyped when Aaron Pico wins, so I'm not trying to get too overly hyped. But when you knock somebody out like that, where they bend the other way, oh,
Yeah, no, I mean, especially at 145 pounds. I mean,
And somebody that's never been knocked out before.
yeah, exactly. So that's 3 wins in a row for him. His opponents were 7-3. After the fights were 7-3, 8-2, and 13-8. I don't know if we're ready for a fight with like Corrales, a rematch, but we're starting to get there. I think he's about one more. I'd give him one more mid-tier level guy like he's been fighting, and then if he wins that fight, I think you have to. I think it'll have been a couple years since his last loss. I think at that point, then
Yeah.
you will need to you'll need to
He
see where
actually,
he's at.
yeah, no, but he actually, well, they asked him, what do you want next? I mean, he was like, I want to go home, see, because he's living in New Mexico. That's kind of where he made his life with the training at Jackson Wink, but that's not where he's from. So he said he wants to go home and see his family. But they asked him, for 2021, like January, February, when he gets back to, in the thick of it, back to training, he was like, I want Borix, I want Corrales. I have to get those back. And I'm just like, hey, man, I mean, if the kid wants it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, Borks is on a 2-fight win streak now, and Corrales just picked up a big win over Gertz. But he had 2 losses, but Caldwell and Archuleta prior to that. I think those are the fights that we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see a rematch eventually. It's just, do you put him in there with a Gaston Bolaños who had his fight canceled? This next fight canceled.
They gotta give him one more like De Jesus level guy before they give him those rematches, I think.
I'd like to see them give him a guy who's just a real, just a Division 2 wrestler, somebody who's just going to try to take him down for 3 rounds and see him pressured a little bit. I feel like a lot of it, he's got caught in the stand up, but I'd be interested to see if you put somebody who's just relentlessly putting pressure on him, how he holds up to that. I think I imagine eventually he lands a giant liver shot or something. I mean, his hooks to the body and everything are just devastating. So, I mean, again, we've been on the Pico train since it started, but the talent is clearly there. All you got to do is listen to John McCarthy. He'll tell you about 700 times, right?
Well, get me started on that. I'm about to start watching Bellator events on mute. Like, what happened to Moro? Where's Moro? Is he like COVID, hiding from COVID? Like, I mean, don't get me started. That's a whole other.
That's right.
thing.
I forgot Maro was even an employee of Bellator, but I don't know. I don't. Even
know he's got like 10 jobs, but
yeah, I don't. Does he still do NXT for WWE?
I'm pretty sure he still does that. I know he does boxing still, so it's like.
Yeah, he's got enough going on, and he was just But yeah, I mean, after you said that, it gets a little rough to listen to. Some of the back and forth is definitely a little bit.
It's almost like he's got to have the last word every single time. Especially, it's like, I mean, I know you're one of the original refs. You wrote the rules and stuff like that, but it's just one of those things that I'm just kind of like, bro, like what you. It's like he's up, tries to one up Josh Thompson every time he says something. I don't know. It could just be me. I've been stuck inside.
I don't think it's just you. I've heard other complaints, and I don't. You say he needs the last word. I love. We all love Big John. I mean, let's be serious. The guy's nice as hell. I've met him on 30 occasions in my life, and every time just friendly as hell. But he tends to have to be right. And that's just how he is. He was that way as a referee, and he's kind of taken that role as a color man for Bellator. And I don't know. I forget a lot. I forget a lot of times that people don't watch fights like we do. Yeah. So the explanations sometimes need to be simplified to the point where you almost sound like you're talking to a 12-year-old kid who's just getting into it.
But if you got Josh, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, because like Josh Thompson complaining he's gonna make, like, somebody that trains is gonna understand his version, whereas McCarthy's probably gonna break it down for like the guy that just tuned in because he was channel surfing. So yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I get that. I don't think he should ever step on Josh Thompson's like knowledge of what it's like to be a cage fighter. That's the funny thing. Like it's always and they play off each other, which is I get a laugh out of how Goldie always asks John what the score was for the round. Yeah. And Thompson's always laughing because he's like, well, I'm the goddamn fighter. You never how about
Yeah,
asking me what really went down, So, but
yeah.
again, all three of those guys, Goldie, Thompson, and McCarthy are great for the world of MMA and have been for 2 decades, 2 decades plus. But yeah, it just doesn't sound like a cohesive unit when I listen to it. And
No.
I'm no big fan of the UFC guys either, but um, other than I do like Paul Felder, I like some of the color guys that the UFC uses, some of their fighters.
I actually like most of them. I like most.
Yeah,
I don't think I have a problem with anyone the UFC uses. In all honesty,
I think Cormier gets a little sappy. I think he gets a little too.
he makes me laugh, so I don't mind
Yeah,
him.
no, I mean, again, I love Daniel Cormier, but
Yeah.
I feel like he sometimes becomes a little bit too much. Uh, uh, what's the word? Too much. He's the UFC guy.
Yeah.
He's the company man. And there's nothing wrong with that if the company's paying him damn good money. But
Yeah.
uh, and that's a weak complaint considering he's doing UFC commentary. But yeah, there's something about that Bellator one, and I don't know if it's John McCarthy but there's something that's missing. Maybe it's the three guys in the booth. Maybe they'd be better
I
with
was
just
just
two.
gonna say because I mean I think we're gonna date ourselves, but like you and I most of the time are used to just two people. Whether it be boxing or MMA, it's always been two people: Emmanuel Stewart, Jim Lampley, and then sometimes you had that old weirdo chime in. But he was usually doing the in ring interviews.
Howard
But,
Letterman
yeah.
or
But
Homer.
yeah, but you know what I mean. So like we're used to that two combo, and it seems like as the sport's gotten bigger, they've thrown this third mouth in there, and it's like okay, you have a color guy, you have a play person, and now you have this third person that's trying to do both, and it's kind of like okay, I feel like they're talking over each other. I mean, hell, we're guilty of it when we get guests on here. Sometimes we cut each other off because I mean, and now you're going to get me going into the whole thing. I went about my degrees in communication. I mean, there's sender and receiver, and they go back and forth, and that's how communication happens. But when you throw other noise in, which is the third party, it can tend to be convoluted. But I mean, I don't know. We're going off track. I mean, with with how dope that card was.
Hey, listen. Here's the thing. Bellator had it all under control when they had Sean Wheelock and Jimmy Smith. It never needed to change it from those two guys. Sean Wheelock still works for BKFC. Jimmy Smith does whatever he can do to keep busy. Those two guys were the best, in my opinion, were the best booth team.
I love them.
They weren't spectacular. They didn't have fireworks going off. This wasn't, but those two guys I thought were the most professional team the whole time through. And I was disappointed when they got rid of Wheelock, and then of course I think the whole MMA world was a little bit disappointed with how the Jimmy Smith situation unfolded with him leaving there, and then the UFC kind of turning their back on him. So that was kind of a thing. But
oddly
yeah,
enough, though, the ESPN used him this week. He interviewed Megan Anderson when they announced her. How the bout got canceled between her and Nunes. And he did the interview for ESPN, so hopefully that means
hopefully he's under contract with him. He's the perfect studio guy too.
Yeah.
Like if they actually want to have somebody on Sports Center to represent MMA and talk to the talking heads on ESPN that don't know what they're talking about, Jimmy Smith is the perfect guy. He's great at explaining things. He's super friendly. He's been in the cage before, and he's trained with half these dudes that are fighting. So that's great to hear that he's doing something with them because he's one of the pieces that's missing right now while we get into a world where we might have fights 5 nights a week. Jimmy Smith definitely should be. Smith should be doing one of those shows. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. MMA community buddies over there chiming in wild. Said he's glad we're still plugging away. Absolutely, brother. Again, you're the man. It wasn't you, we wouldn't even know each other. And again, I thank you guys over at the MMA community for giving me a push to pursue this.
The link's on the bottom of the YouTube. Anybody wants to check out that site.
Yep, the MMAcommunity.com. One of the good forums, and one of the good one of the good people in the world, not just MMA world. Wild over there. Gosh, Pico dominates. Emmanuel Sanchez advances as well with a unanimous decision victory over Daniel Weichel. I know this is a fight that you were picking up your no gi laundry for, so you may have missed that one, but I thought it was a great fight. I thought that Sanchez looked tremendous. He landed some body shots, put Weichel down a couple times. Weichel showed heart and a willingness to fight that I hadn't seen before out of him specifically. Tremendous fight. Like I said, Sanchez looked as good as I've ever seen him, and I think that he sets up nicely for the winner of the main event that night. Great performance. This tournament right now is going as good as any tournament has ever gone in the history of MMA. I mean, you have it unfolding everything correctly right now. Maybe some of it had to do with the guys being allowed to pick their fights after the first round, but considering we're going to get McKee Caldwell and then, Patricio Pitbull in the main event picks up a dominating knockout, a huge knockout over Pedro Carvalho. That he gets a rematch now with Emmanuel Sanchez, and they had basically I don't think it was a split decision, but it was a 3-2 championship fight, which Pitbull won. So to get that rematch now in the semifinal for the title, which with the winner of that facing Caldwell or McKee, it's everything's coming up aces right now for this featherweight tournament. Knock on wood that holds up, but tremendous.
I honestly, it's almost like it doesn't matter who wins the next two fights because the finals, it's all good matchups from here on. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just like, I couldn't be more excited. I think so I talked to McKee in New York before the pandemic started, and I don't know if you knew he had a knee thing going on. The interview it's actually on their the MMAnews.com YouTube channel if you want to check that out. So I'm thinking just the pandemic might have given him some extra healing time, and we just might get 100% fireworks from that fight. I don't think that's going to be a concern at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think McKee's gonna. I think he wins. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight. But I think in the long run, we're going to end up with a Pitbull McKee fight, which was the fight. I mean, Archuleta Pitbull, which was the opening round fight, was obviously a title fight that it was waited for. It was the true number one contender at the time. But I think that the McKee Pitbull fight is the fight that MMA fans want, and I think that that's the one that either establishes. I mean, Pitbull, Patricio Pitbull basically is getting into a pool of fighters now where we can seriously start talking about him ranking in the top 10 of all time.
The world,
open weight all time fighter.
Yeah,
to be 30-4, the list of people he's beaten. I mean, it's hard not to go Aldo, but man. Patricio Pitbull is a treasure for this sport, and again, somebody that people should be paying attention to if they're not.
I don't believe Dana White doesn't know who he is. He has to know who this guy is by now.
Again, though, like in other sports, you can't talk about necessarily fighters under contract with other organizations. So Dana White playing kind of stupid there might be the legal way to do it. And he might not know exactly what's going on. I mean. It's hard not to, though. I mean, it's hard not to know the guy who just knocked out the shiny new toy you signed up now to be your number one contender in Michael Chandler. I mean, no matter how when the records are shown, Pitbull picked up a 40-second KO win of that over Chandler. I mean, I don't necessarily see that happening over and over again, but that's what happened the time they fought.
And then what he just did yesterday was another one that was like, I mean. It was just I thought we were gonna get like a longer fight, and then just a quick 1-2, and I couldn't believe that the fight was over. I mean,
Carvalho been on a roll.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people thought he was a legitimate. I mean, I thought that we were in for a battle. I thought he was going to really test Pitbull. Pitbull's out there swinging friggin' hammers now. I mean, he's always had power in his punches, but if he can stand flat-footed now and temple shot you and just put you into a coma, I mean, that's we're getting into some rarefied air with him. And I don't, when this tournament ends, if he wins this tournament, he will have basically cleaned out the entire history of Bellator's featherweight division.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Bellator's been around 12 years, and Pitbull's been fighting basically since day one. I mean, he's gonna clear out. You know, I mean, arguably maybe there's a Pico fight 4 or 5 fights down the line. You know, but
Not yet. No.
no, not yet. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the only guy who could end up becoming a megastar who Pitbull hasn't fought or won't have on his radar for another 2 years, probably would be Aaron Pico. Because if he beats Sanchez again and then beats McKee, I mean, well, the UFC should be opening up. Somebody should be opening up mega pocketbooks to move him in to their organization if Bellator had any reason to ever let him go, or if he wanted to, test the water somewhere else. I guess he moves up to lightweight at that point. You try to continue to clear that division out. But yeah, just tremendous. The co-main event before that, the two fights were split. With a fight of two undefeated fighters coming into the fight 24-0. Amasov versus Logan Storley was 11-0 coming into the fight.
Well, that was a great fight too.
Really was. I was impressed with both guys. I did think Amasov looked a little sluggish, more than I normally thought I saw him, but I was super impressed with his takedown defense. That first round, his balance and his ability just to avoid the takedown against a 4-time All-American.
Yeah,
I was super impressed by that. I mean, after the first round, I was going, okay, this is legit. And then he kicked ass again in the second round. Third round, he had gassed by that point, Storley, but he avoided some crazy chokes. I mean, those things were sunk.
yeah,
and obviously, Storley's arms were gassed as you'd expect after basically shooting takedowns and everything for nonstop for 10 minutes. But Amazon moves to 25-0. I think it's time for Bellator to really start to promote him. I think what else does he have to do? I think you got to basically put him in line for Lima now. I mean, I'm sure there's another. I know Lima's talking their MVP and all these guys.
no,
Logan
MVP.
Storley probably crushes MVP.
That's probably the fight right there to make. I mean, MVP's a name. It's funny because who'd they ask about Musasi? No, it was Lima. They asked just before the fight when they fought for the middleweight. They had asked Lima, and he was like, "Listen, no disrespect to him, but you got to fight more notable opponents instead of these guys that you're having your fancy knockouts over." And I agree with that. So I mean, and I'm not trying, because I actually really like Logan Storley. I disagreed with that decision, sort of, more because of who was judging, not because of the fight itself. Because once I heard there's certain names in this area, when you hear certain judges' names in the Northeast, you're kind of like, oh no, this guy, you know what I mean? And Doug Crosby outside of this area, because of his interview with Bloody Elbow some years ago, or people already know what I'm talking about, and he was one of the judges on that card. But hey,
do you remember who he judged it for? Was he the one that gave it to Storley, or did he give it to Amasov? Do you recall?
No, but I mean, I know they tweeted it out. But
I thought Amasov won. I thought he won the first fight I didn't think he lost. Let's put it that way. I didn't think Storley in any way won 2 rounds. The first round arguably could have been considered a 10-10.
Yeah, I know he lost a round. I don't know. I forget if it was round 2 or 3 when he laid on his back, which he never does. Here we go. Doug Crosby gave it to Amasov.
Okay.
Jaron Villel gave it to Amasov. So oddly enough,
the two guys you don't like.
Yeah. So maybe I was wrong.
I agreed with them that night, but again, it was a close fight, and I tend to be biased towards international fighters. I don't know why it is. It's just always been kind of the guys I've rooted for. So, and I like to see a guy go to 25-0. I mean, I know 11-0 is great too, but when you get to 24-25-0, we start getting into some, again, more rarefied air where, it was funny to see him promoting him as the fighter with the best record, the best active fighter record in the world right now. Did you catch that on the broadcast where they threw that in there? I mean, obviously based off the idea of Habib retiring, they threw that in on the broadcast.
Did they? I didn't.
Yeah. They said they were hyping up Amasov as having the best record in active MMA. So
Wow.
But that's cool. They should. If he's 25-0 now. I mean, we'll see if he
And it's a new network. They got to sell whatever they can sell. So yeah.
I did like, speaking of the new network, CBS Sports network there, I did like how they have their ticker on the bottom of the screen. I don't know if you noticed that at all, where it kind of gives a breakdown of the fights coming up that night, who guys have beat. I mean, all the stuff that we see throughout a show, but it was the first time I'd ever seen a ticker really kind of give a breakdown of everything. And I thought that was cool. And I think that's something.
You know what? I noticed it, but I didn't think, until you said it now, it's like, it's nice to see, but I noticed it. I just didn't I didn't appreciate it until you just mentioned it now.
And that's the difference between being on Spike or being on Paramount and being on a sports network. You have the ticker. There's no, I'm not aware of a big network that CBS has as far as a big sports like news show, but I mean, that's the next thing is maybe they come up with something where they can really promote what happens at Bellator so it doesn't get lost. Because the eyes are going to go down, and Bellator knew that they were going to get less viewers. They just knew that they were also moving to a sports network that was
new to MMA.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly. So
I didn't know how we stream BKFC from Miami now. I don't know. I mean, they just finished the YouTube thing, didn't they?
The prelims are off. Let me check something real quick for one of our loyal listeners. I would recommend going to a site that's crack streams. That's all I'm gonna say. Crack streams dot. You know what to type in. That's what that in theory there might be somebody showing it there, but I didn't say that, and there it is. But yeah, check that out.
It might be there, Watson.
Yeah,
So.
could be there. I see Lake Watson looking for a stream.
Yeah. So the I mean, we already talked about. I think that's it for Bell. Do we talk about Carrie Melendez and her?
Yeah, Melendez picks up a dominating win right before the Pico fight in the prelims over Emily King, who was coming off of a win in her previous bout. She moves to 5-0. Potential superstars. Just there's no depth right now, really, at the Bellator 115-pound division. So it'll be interesting to see how that. What they do with her. And I don't like these people. My biggest complaint about Bellator, the start time is too early for the West Coast. I get it. A lot of West Coast people had tape delay, so they weren't able to watch it live. But starting an event with this kind of Grand Prix at 4 p.m. on the West Coast, considering every single quarterfinal of that tournament took place in LA or San Jose, I mean, you basically... you're kind of, to me, you're alienating a lot of people because and it replays again at night. So there's ways to watch it. There's DVRs and all that stuff.
But you're right. I mean, it's sports, and everyone wants to watch sports live. Nobody cares once the results are out there. Nobody cares to really watch it again, especially if you had money on it and stuff like that. But I mean, just to chime in with you there, it's not any easier on the East Coast. I know I was complaining to you when the prelims started. I was still working and trying to watch them on YouTube, but obviously because I'm working, I'm not really paying attention. So I hear you. I know they're aware of it, and they're again, this is they're throwing stuff against the wall in CBS Sports and seeing what sticks, at least until this DAZN nonsense is out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, if we're and my thing is, if we're just going to have it seems to me, and maybe I'm wrong, it looks like we have a 2-hour window that CBS Sports is allowing Bellator, which is fine. Bellator events don't generally need to be over. A main card doesn't need to be over 2 hours long. So that means we're going to get like 3 to 4 fights, depending on if we have 5-rounders and such. To me, and I know East Coast, I'm greedy here on the West Coast because I get to watch sports most of the time, before I'm crashing for work the next morning.
Yeah.
But if you have a 2-hour window on the East Coast, I mean, is 9 to 11 just too late? I mean, or even 8 to 10. I mean, starting anything before 5 o'clock here on the West Coast to me is basically saying you don't care about West Coast viewers.
I mean, again, I think that it's just they're in a tough spot with the new network. And the thing about these smaller sports networks, I know ESPN is supposed to be the big daddy, but even when you look at when UFC had to deal with Fox, they still had to toss over to different Fox properties. I'm wondering if it's just because again Coker had to address it when they came back to the States. When he addressed the media, people asked like kind of like what's up, well, how are you going to handle that? And he said like for now, they're going to have to like record it or whatever, but people were, I'm assuming he can't address it directly because of legal issues, but this thing with the zone is really kind of like, and from the way he says it, and the stuff is on YouTube, you can see the interviews of MMA Junkie and all that. When every time they bring up the zone, it seems like he's waiting for the zone to say you're free to do whatever you want, or it's like they're not saying it because they're just being greedy. And as we saw, with the Canelo thing, the zone is obviously, they're probably not the best people to be in business with. So if it's just waiting for that data, the end date on their contract to pop up so they can move forward, which I already know Steven Espinosa's like this over. It's I think it'll get better. We'll probably see maybe like some stuff on a channel that's not interfering with the other stuff CBS Sports Programming has, which I have no idea what else they show there. I know when I went to NBC, I'm laughing because when I went to NBC Sports, they had drone races before the XFC event. So who knows what their priority is over there?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that they have like college basketball and stuff. That's pretty much what I've only tuned in for CBS Sports Network over the years for. But yeah, great Bellator event. Next week, McKee Caldwell. Yeah. We'll likely talk about that on Tuesday. But that was Thursday. So tonight, obviously, we got BKFC. Again, the best way to order BKFC is through the BKFC app. $3.99 with a one-time $9.99
come on,
sign-up fee. You can also do if you go through
Watson, you don't got $3.99.
If you go through, I prefer the month by month, so I pay $5.99 a month right now, just because I go to some of the events, luckily, and I'll be attending the next one. So there's not really any reason for me necessarily to pay for next month when I will be at that fight. But BKFC app, tremendous. Looks like we got some Russian bots now watching the show, which is pretty sweet. But
I got a bot to knock them out. So go ahead.
But
we got the UFC this weekend. Felder.
But real quick, BKFC, the main event tonight, any way you can watch it, try to watch it. Jim Ehlers versus Luis Palomino. Should be an absolute banger for the main event and for the lightweight title there for BKFC. Palomino coming in to try to defend his title, which he earned with a defeat of Isaac Valley Flag a couple months back. Tonight, rolling to Saturday now. Late last minute replacement, but a hell of a fight. Paul Felder, one of the People's Champions, fighting Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, fun fight, man. I mean, Dos Anjos is like 1-5 in his last 5, but he has fought everybody in the welterweight division, and Paul Felder doesn't ever leave anything. He leaves everything in the cage. There's not going to be. There'll be a decisive. I don't know if there'll be a decisive winner because these guys could fight to a real close decision, but there won't be. Nobody's going to take this fight off. I'm not sure how you see the fight. I'm not sure if you've actually broken it down with it being a late minute, but I just like Paul Felder. I think his pressure will be enough, but it's going to be great to see Dos Anjos get to fight somebody who's not trying to take him down for 5 rounds.
I mean, the matchup I like, the short notice I'm concerned with, as good as he's been. I mean, he's done a lot of media to talk about his great weight cut and how he was kind of ready already and how it's reinvigorated his interest in fighting and stuff like that. I'm all for it, but when you look at history of short notice, especially 5 days, I mean, it would be beautiful if he picks up a win and we get to see where this takes him. But I'm just as much as it would make for a great story. The guy was supposed to be there to do commentary, and now he's on the damn card main event.
Mm.
I don't. I hope he does well, but against a prepared RDA, I don't see that happening.
I'll
I
see
mean
it.
that's the guy that Dana White. I mean, even with everything that RDA's been through with the losses, Dana White still calls him the test for against newer fighters or something like that. So come on, that's
Well, he's
saying
in a
something.
sense he's become the gatekeeper.
Yeah,
But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the matches they've given him are just not. Ever since he lost the title to Alvarez, he's just been it's just been a murderer's row of wrestling. From Damian Maya, Covington, Usman. Um, I'm forgetting one of the other guys. He fight Leon Edwards too. I mean, I feel like it's been a nonstop barrage of the top
yeah.
five, and obviously Chiesa, Leon Edwards, Usman, Covington. He did beat Kevin Lee, but another one of those guys kind of out of that mold. Um, it'll be interesting to see how it goes down. I'd love to see Felder win because I think it's cool. But like you said, the more I think about it, a fully trained RDA with a guy not shooting at his legs for 5 rounds is going to be a tough pill for Felder to deal with.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, and I really didn't look at the. I mean, I briefly looked over the card. I know there's other fights on there that I'm kind of excited about. I
the
mean,
names are what jump out at me, and a couple of the female names jump out at me. Kay
yeah,
Hansen,
yep,
uh, coming off a big win over Jin Yun Fry in her UFC debut, and Ashley Yoder, just mainly because she's the local girl around here in Southern California. Her record's obviously not spectacular, but puts on a good fight.
yeah. She's
Um,
fighting Miranda Granger, who's also not no slouch in her own right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Randa Marcos. Oh, that's probably the Murata. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if did she ever win the title in Invicta. She was the champion in Ryzen, moved to Invicta, and now is finally making the jump to the UFC. Um, I stated a couple fights of her back. She's can't miss. If you're into any kind of women's MMA or MMA in general, she is a
Hmm.
dominating force.
Yeah.
Um, in women's MMA. She's got a tough fight with Randa Marcos, who, again, like Yoder, basically comes in with a 500 record, but is never an easy fight. So, good fight for Murata in her debut. Um, Other than that, I mean, nothing spectacular, but it'll probably end up being a great fight.
That's usually those are usually the cards that wind up being amazing, like the ones that people kind of say are flying under the radar. So
Well, the expectations aren't there.
yeah.
This isn't gauge. You know what I mean? Like we haven't been building up the anticipation for 4 months to have a fight end in 90 seconds with a guillotine
Mhm.
choke or something. You know what I mean? Like these fights are all going to be fresh. A lot of people, I don't know a lot of these fighters, and we don't know them. Maybe you know more than me, but I mean we watch a lot of fights, and some of these guys are going to be new. So it's always interesting. And like I said, the XFC thing on Wednesday kind of
Yeah.
rejuvenated that thing. So I'm just, I like the every night thing is cool. It's made it
Yeah.
fun. So
Yeah.
that's that. Good God, is there anything on Saturday? Do we have a Submission Underground or anything that I'm forgetting? I mean, I
No,
feel like
I
we
mean
need something for Sunday.
there's a karate combat every Sunday for a little while, but that's about it. They're gonna have their first female fighters of season 2 as the main event. I think it's only those 2 fights. There's might be only 2 fights on there, but once you get past all the Neo Tokyo and the time portals and all the funniness on there, but I'll be putting up something about that over on with a link to watch it because that's all on YouTube, mymmanews.com.
What are they live? Have we ever determined that, or are these a couple pre-recorded
No,
fights, or
these
is
are
it?
pre-recorded in the fashion of like the Ultimate Fighter is.
We got another question about BKFC. Yeah, I have it on in the background. Our show's coming to an end for this week, but the first main card fight just finished on the BKFC 14 fight card.
So
So
yeah, no, so Matt's gonna go off and watch that. I mean, I guess you can take us out for the week. I mean, I think we got to do a pay-per-view preview next week, right?
yeah, well, we have the McKee Caldwell fight,
And that,
um, and then yeah, the UFC is hard to keep track of because there's just every bombardment. Let me pull that up. Figueiredo Perez, yeah, and then Shevchenko and Maya. So we got the doubleheader flyweight title fights next week to look forward to. Until next week, fans can check us out as always on allaccessmma.com. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMAHawk21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, Old Head Carb on Twitch. Nice to see us getting a couple Twitch views this week, as well as Periscope. So some of our other outlets working well. Ed, have a great rest of the night. And I know it's an ESPN Plus card tomorrow, but we might be able to work our way around that too.
All right, man. You have a good weekend.
All right, have a good one.
Later.